Welcome to the third lecture on the principles of ecology. We're going to be talking about the biomes today. I'm Wendy Nofke and I'll be giving your presentation. So we have several different types of biomes on this planet. We have terrestrial biomes and we have aquatic biomes. The terrestrial biomes are going to be all the land areas on Earth where organisms live. The biomes are just the organisms where organisms live, including both aquatic and terrestrial. One of the things that's going to influence the biome is the climate. And the climate is the average weather in an area over a long period of time based on the temperature and moisture. Weather, on the other hand, are the conditions in the atmosphere from day to day. So the weather is something you see changing on a daily basis. The climate will be more consistent over a long period of time. As we look at the planet, we have different temperature zones based on the latitude. So the latitude will influence the temperature, but there will be other factors such as water and elevation. So here we can see the different temperature zones. We have the equator here that is going to be right across the center. We have the temperate zone that's going to go from the Arctic to the Antarctic Circle to the Tropic of Cancer. In this middle area, you've got your Arctic zone at the top. And then you've got your tropical zone that's between the equator and the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So the Arctic zone up here is above 67 degrees north or south, way at the top or way at the bottom. Your temperate zone, right here between the Arctic Circle and Tropic of Cancer, or between the Antarctic Circle and the Tropic of Capricorn. And then we have the tropical zone that's between the equator and the Tropic of Cancer, or the equator and the Tropic of Capricorn, and that will be your warmer area. With the moisture patterns, these are going to be influenced by movement of air masses. There is a belt of dry air masses at about 30 degrees north and south, and consequently that is where you find the deserts located. Having that drier mass there will actually oftentimes make that area warmer than directly by the equator. The moisture is going to rise up from the ocean and it will rise over the mountain ranges. As the air rises, it will cool and it will condense. And then eventually precipitation will fall down on the windward side of the mountain. So here you can see the evaporation and moisture coming up. The wind is going to carry it over the mountains, and then you'll have the dry air, and it will be dry and hot on the other side of the mountains. Before it comes up here as it's going up, it's going to cause some of that to condense and come down as rain. So on this side, the leeward side, you'll have things be much moister. So the warm air will hold more moisture, and as it cools, it's not going to be able to hold as much moisture, and that's what is going to cause it to rain here before it goes over the mountain. So this creates what we call a rain shadow, where you've got the dry conditions on the leeward side of the mountain. Climate will affect plant growth. There's 5 basic needs of plants. They need air, warmth, sunlight, water, and nutrients. And this will depend on the season, the climate, and the soil. The growing season is the period of time that's warm and wet enough for a plant to grow, and this will vary in different parts of the world. Temperate climates usually have the best soil composition, and it's warm enough to allow for faster decomposition, which will provide more nutrients for those plants. Since climate determines plant growth, it's going to have influences on the variety of terrestrial organisms. Biodiversity generally increases from the poles towards the equator. That's going to give you more variety of organisms as you move towards the equator and the environment is milder. Organisms evolve adaptations to help them survive in the climate of the particular biome they live in. One way of surviving is using dormancy, a state in which the plant slows down its cellular activity and may actually shed the leaves. Many plants will do this during the winter months. So as an overview of the terrestrial biomes, they're classified by climate factor and their primary producers. So with the tundra, we have the Arctic tundra and the alpine tundra. The boreal forest, this is going to include the taiga and northern conifer forests. The temperate deciduous forest is also going to be in the same similar category with the temperate broadleaf forest, the chaparral, the deserts, and the tropical rainforest and tropical grasslands. So there will be a diagram that you'll be able to view later on in this lesson where you can see these different biomes with some pictures and descriptions of what you will find in the biomes. So we have several different terrestrial biomes. Some of them are going to be subsets of other larger biomes, but as you can see with all the different colors represented on here, we have quite a variety of biomes present on Earth. With the aquatic biomes, these are usually going to have consistent temperature and moisture levels, so the limits will include sunlight, the dissolved oxygen levels, and the nutrients. We can have two main zones. The photic zone is going to receive enough light for photosynthesis to occur. This can go down to a maximum depth of about 200 meters. In the aphotic zone, there's little sunlight for photosynthesis. This is deeper than 200 meters. So when we look at aquatic biomes in the amount of dissolved substances, water near the surface will usually have more dissolved oxygen than deeper water does. There's usually more dissolved nutrients near the shore than there are farther away. And the water near the bottom of oceans and lakes will tend to have more nutrients because the dead organisms will tend to sink. We have three broad groups of aquatic organisms. The plankton, they can't move on their own and they live in the photic zone. These are going to include phytoplankton, which are things like bacteria and algae that do photosynthesis, and the zooplankton, which are small animals that feed on phytoplankton. The nekton are going to be aquatic animals that swim or live in the photic or aphotic zone. They feed on the plankton or other nekton. And then the benthos, these are going to crawl in the sediment at the bottom. Many, but not all of these are decomposers. So the marine biomes are the aquatic biomes in the ocean. Here things are adapted to salt water. We've got the intertidal zone, which is a strip along the coastline that you will see between the high and low tides. So part of the time this zone will be underwater, part of it will be out of the water. We have deep water organisms, and these must be able to tolerate extreme pressure, very cold water, and complete darkness. There are actually some forms of life that cluster around hydrothermal vents. They are chemoautotrophs that make food using energy in the chemicals. So below the ocean, where we do have some volcanic vents, you actually have some organisms that will live and thrive in that environment. With our ocean zones, you've got the littoral zone, which is the area near the shore. The pelagic zone is out in the open water, so we can have different parts of the pelagic zone. The neritic zone is the open water that's over the sublittoral shelf. The oceanic zone is going to be the area out past the sublittoral shelf and over the continental shelf. The epipelagic is at the top of the ocean. This is up to 200 meters deep. The mesopelagic is going to be a little bit deeper. They run from depths from 200 to around 700 to 1,000 meters deep. The bathypelagic is going to be below the mesopelagic, and then the abyssal pelagic is below the bathypelagic, and the hadopelagic is below the abyssal pelagic. Your freshwater biomes are going to include your lakes, rivers, and streams. They will contain little to no salt. The running water is better able to dissolve the oxygen and the nutrients. Here, sometimes you'll see riffles in the water, and that's going to indicate a rougher surface on the bottom with faster moving water. Where you have the pools in the water, it's going to indicate a smoother bottom and slower moving water. With lakes, we can have some variety in those as well. An oligotrophic lake is the clear, pristine lake that's low in primary production. These are relatively new lakes. Eutrophic lakes are more productive. They're higher in biomass, they have a large amount of organic matter, and they can be susceptible to oxygen depletion and have frequent algal blooms. Young lakes will start as oligotrophic lakes, and over time will become more eutrophic. Wetlands are areas that are saturated with water or covered by water at least one season of the year. It may be freshwater or saltwater, and these will provide a habitat for certain plants and animals. Wetlands help to store excess water from floods and slow runoff to prevent erosion. It also helps to remove excess nutrients before emptying into the rivers or lakes. One of the plants you'll see a lot of in wetlands are the cattails, and they're particularly good at helping to remove substances in the water before they go into the rivers or lakes. And the estuary is a partly enclosed body of water with a river or stream that's going to connect to the ocean. So here you have rivers and streams that meets the ocean. These are very high in biodiversity, and these are the most biologically productive areas.